Well, good morning, everybody. It's 10 a.m. Welcome to the third in our series of how to become a connoisseur. Today, we're going to concentrate on the home. A couple of quick housekeeping items, as we always do. We muted everybody, with the exception of our 5 panelists. But sometimes Zoom plays up a little bit, and you may find yourself on the screen. If you do, please hit the mute button so that we don't see you or hear you. The only people who should be on the screen are the 6 who are there right now. We have a chat button down the bottom. If you've got questions throughout the program, hit that chat button, and we will make sure that I just get rid of these folks here. We will make sure that those questions are posed to the panelists. And then the questions I inevitably get, is this program being recorded? Yes, it is. Late this afternoon, we will send you a link to the recording. It'll come through to you via your Eventbrite system. So if you don't see the link, go into the old junk folder or the spam folder, and that's where you'll see the recording link. So why today's program? Our intent always is to sort of better equip luxury marketers with a fundamental understanding of connoisseurship and how to convey its meaning and its importance to your clients and to your customers. And I might say, as an aside, LuxeSF represents 13 of the big brokerages, real estate brokerages in the Bay Area. And as part of that function, we see a lot of the multi-million-dollar properties. And I can certainly attest to the fact that money is not necessarily something that buys good taste. So this is a very apropos conversation today. Having said that, we've got 5 very seasoned professionals who know every element of the home, from acquisition to design to lifestyle. And today we're going to talk about connoisseurship as seen through their eyes. I'm just going to introduce them by name and title only, and we'll learn more about them as we progress. Sabra Ballon and Stacey Lapuk are from ballonSTUDIOs and Stacey Lapuk Interiors, are both interior designers who cater to the luxury homeowner. So it's very important for us to hear their feedback and their insights. Gregg Lynn is a realtor with Sotheby's International Realty and is San Francisco's #1 top selling agent. So we're talking to the tip of the pyramid here in terms of real estate sales and what he sees with multi-million-dollar properties. Ramey is the founder of the Home Trust International, an organization based in Florida that represents leading interior designers around the country and manufacturers in the luxury home sector. And then rounding out our team is Jeff Schlab, who is the principal of Jeff Schlab Design Studio and the founder and owner of the wonderful staging firm in the Bay Area, Green Couch. We did have a 6th panelist, Elizabeth Suzuki from Sutton Suzuki. Unfortunately, a family emergency has taken her away today, but we have the rest of the team in full force. So to home professionals and to our connoisseurs, welcome. I'm going to throw a question to everybody, and I'll start, Chris, with you, if I may, and then we'll just go around the board. I sort of want to understand what connoisseurship means to you. I want to get a baseline understanding from each of the panelists of what connoisseurship actually means. And it's sort of inside that realm is how do you, in your own mind, profile connoisseurs when you see them? So let's start with you, and let's just keep it to a headline answer, and then we'll get down into the granular stuff later on. Chris?
It's an individual who moves beyond expertise to a visceral 6th sense, where they intuitively or instinctively understand the category.
How often do you see them?
Not that often, really. There are a lot of posers, if you will, and you see that. You can tell by their behaviors, and you can see by how they're surrounded. So no, it's a rare thing. And so to that point, it's an honor to be with these luminaries today, who obviously are connoisseurs.
Greg, same question to you.
I love your calling it a 6th sense. I've never heard it put that way, but it is. Those individuals rare on the ground. And as somebody who has spent a lifetime helping people understand real estate and to influence them to purchase real estate, you know when you're in the presence of a connoisseur. It's somebody who understands a category. And in my world, it's real estate. And real estate that is so rare, it's priced differently. It has some attribute that will, perhaps it's a view, perhaps it's a penthouse, but perhaps it will speak to someone only with that sixth sense. They are rare on the ground. And the most challenging part is getting them to act and to purchase and to be influenced by what they see.
Why is that, Greg? Why is it so difficult?
Well, connoisseurs don't need to buy, they need to understand. You know, they have this sixth sense. I'm going to continue to use that because that's the best way about a category, whether it's automobiles or wine or design, but there's something that they have this knowledge, and they're an expert and they can pass opinions and judgment that's real like no one else can. But usually they don't need anything further. To observe and to learn and to appreciate is one thing, but to move forward, to own and to acquire is a second. And that's where the challenge is for my job, you know, as a realtor, as a marketer of real estate. That's the true line of demarcation.
Sabra, same question. Sabra, I think we lost you. Let's, Stacey, go to you, same question.
Yeah, I love both of your explanations. I think it's someone who really loves excellence and it's authentic to them. They're not putting on airs, they're not pretending. It's truly something that they embody, is all the nuances and the wonder of something that's just excellent.
A rare breed in your estimation?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I think I'm lucky enough that many of my clients aspire to become a connoisseur around those things that they love. So I think it's a process.
Okay, Jeff?
Well, yeah, I was just thinking there must be degrees of connoisseurship, or maybe not, or like, you know, news, like you said, aspire. I mean, technically refers to someone who has a deep knowledge and like an expertise in their field, whether it's interior design or art, food, wine, fashion. I kind of think of an alternative example as Prince or David Bowie, where they're like connoisseurs of the music and their craft, but also like a lifestyle. And it's kind of an innate gift that allows people to see and express beyond the ordinary. So that's what makes them so unique, and just see beyond.
Sabra, we lost you before you went sounded on this. Same
I'm
question?
back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll speak less about connoisseurs and more about connoisseurship, which is something that I know more about and have more experience with. And I think there's three parts to it. Similar to the kind of sixth sense is that there is an expertise, which is a long time studying something. And that expertise has to come from primary experience of actually, you know, being there and experiencing the knowledge. So for example, sipping the wine in the cave, in the place, in situ with the person who made the wine, for example. And I think that the second kind of component to connoisseurship is exclusivity. It can't be something that's accessible to people, to everyone else. It has to be very precious, very kind of like prestigious. And then the third thing also is this kind of like senses thing. It's something that appeals to your senses, sight, touch, taste, something like that, sound.
Sabra, a sort of a flippant question. So you could not be a connoisseur of snow globes?
No, no, definitely not. Absolutely not. No, or Pez dispensers or anything like that. It has to be something exclusive, something that requires, you know, expertise and something that touches the senses.
Okay. I want to stay just with connoisseurship for a few minutes before we get into the home. But to each of you, in terms of your own personal appreciation of connoisseurship, and stay away from the home and your craft and your professional side, it just in terms of your personal interests and practices, where would you consider yourself personally a connoisseur? Forget the business, the other side of life. Anybody.
Oh.
Anybody. Sabra, jump in.
design and architecture is my life. It's been my entire passion and everything. So yes, I am a connoisseur of design and architecture since, 10 years old. Yes.
Even if you weren't practicing, you would still have this as a
Absolutely.
passion.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think I'm one of those lucky people that gets to do what I am. I've always been in art, so it's just become a part of me. I mentioned the word authenticity before, and it is what is authentic. It's what is loved. And therefore you keep learning about it. The depth just keeps growing and growing and growing. And I think rather than someone who might see things miles wide and an inch deep, connoisseurs have a smaller breadth, but they have a much deeper. I did that backwards, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Yeah.
Any other comments, Greg?
Yeah, I see myself less of a connoisseur and more of an influencer of connoisseurship.
Explain.
And so I have a deep understanding of, the ultra high net worth buyer and the highest level of real estate. And so my pursuit is to try and connect the two.
Okay. Let me ask you about connoisseurship. Can this be taught? Does it take a long time to acquire? Is there longevity to the process? And sort of allied with that, what's the difference in sort of connoisseurship and sort of great lifelong style versus the sort of the voguish au courant fad of the day? Because they're both intertwined. But can you teach this, or do you have to learn it over time? Anybody? Jump in.
Yeah, I'll jump in that. I think connoisseurship needs to be nurtured and developed from within, but there has to be this internal passion. There has to be this wake up in the morning, go to bed at night, thinking about it and dreaming about it, and
almost fanatical.
I would suppose, in all of this discussion, you're never a great connoisseur if you reach the mountaintop and there's no more mountains to slay or dragons to slay or mountains to climb. You have to have this open communication with yourself that I'm still learning. The best days are yet to come. There's got to be more to uncover. So I think that's the growth mindset of being a connoisseur.
Chris, what do you think? So go ahead, Sabra.
I'm just going to add to that, which is the more you learn about what you don't know, and you realize how much deeper you can go.
And do you go deeper? Do connoisseurs want to go deeper?
Yes, they want to keep going deeper, and they keep finding these other, tunnels to go into and go beyond.
Therefore, if you're a marketer talking to these people, what should you do to them, say to them? How should you market to them?
I'll answer that. You don't really sell to a high net worth individual. You fascinate and enchant, and your connoisseurship will do that. There's a long continuum between selling and serving and showing. And so you as a connoisseur, you can enchant them in such a way that you create desire, which is of course the backbone of luxury for your brand. Then you have no competition. That's why being a connoisseur is so important.
Right. The other way that you market to them is that it is very subtle, but you are kind of listening to them, you're watching them, you are assimilating your observations of them, and you're just kind of taking all of that in, and you're bringing something to them that they didn't even necessarily know that they wanted. So for example, our clients, Stacey and I and Jeff, our clients are people who are, at the top of their game. They have exacting standards, and they don't always know what they want in their home. They know it in their business. They know it in their other transactions. And it's our job to listen to them very carefully and assimilate what their deepest desires are and bring that to them in a design or a project. And they say, oh, I didn't even know that I wanted that. And that is thrilling me.
Okay. Greg, you were nodding. Did you want to add something to this?
The same thing has happened to me live right now. There's certain properties that only become available once in a generation, either represented by me or by others. It's my job to dig into, my past world of clients, to not be a marketer, but to be a matchmaker, and to reach out and say, although I haven't spoken with you in 8 years, a property is becoming available that you need to know about for the following reasons. Because what I've learned about you is that you really care deeply and you have a passion for having this. And something very similar to that is becoming available. And so it's more of a matchmaking than a marketing.
I too was enamored with Chris's comment about that sixth sense. That's a piece of gold today, because in my job, I talk to so many different people. Then very occasionally I'll meet this one person in flip-flops and a t-shirt, and something breaks through, and that sixth sense says, I'm in the presence of a connoisseur. But I want to ask the question: are there dog whistles? Are there sort of subtle cues, auditory or visual? Are there behavioral cues that give you, the heads up that this one's a connoisseur?
Sure, I could start there. We met clients last year who bought a big property through us. We represented them as buyers. And I'm always fascinated when I get to know new clients is, what do they do on social media? These are not marketers. These are highly successful people. What does their social media say? So what I learned about this specific couple who have homes, they're a young, tech, wealthy couple that have homes in 3 US cities that are not near each other. I've learned that every 2 weeks they got on a plane to go have a meal somewhere important, somewhere in the world. Every 2 weeks, they fly to the Netherlands, or they fly to Hawaii, or they fly, to Bangkok, but they know where the top restaurants are, with the secret menus where they have backstage passes to something that's so exceptional with cuisine that it causes them to get on a plane every 14 days. So social media was the popcorn trail that they left that helped me learn about this side of them.
Excellent. That's perfect. Anybody else? Dog whistles?
Yeah, I think you can tell if somebody is authentic, right? If they're real and if they truly have a love of something. And so they express that in how they speak and how they walk and what gets them excited, what lights them up, and it's our job to kind of uncover that and find that little gem, like what Sabra was saying, and really explode that for them so they could really appreciate, oh, this is what it feels like, to be just perfectly aligned with where you want to be, and who you are.
Right.
I think also, Alf, there is a characteristic where if there's something that they don't know about, but they're interested in, they're very quiet and they listen very carefully.
They do listen.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to just jump in there, Alf. I was thinking about this client I have. Of course, he has a beautiful watch collection I one day finally witnessed. And but this is what I don't know for the other teammates here, Sabra and Stacey, and actually Greg, you and I share this client. But once I've done like the third project with somebody, okay, they're not going to become connoisseur of interior design. I understand there's a high mark to meet there. But I watch these clients while do their first and second home projects, and they're kind of really listening more and wanting to be led, and they're quieter. But that by the time they've gotten to the third project, it's still collaborative, but they're so much more engaged because they know the process. Okay, well, this happens and we go A, B, C, D. Okay, that's similar to the second time. Now we're on B again. Now I'm in the game. And I find that's part of the conversation of, can it be taught? Is it learned? Is it exciting people to keep, climbing mountains of information? And I just love witnessing that when people get in it and to start falling in love with the process.
And to that point, if listening is so important in the development of connoisseurship, that runs counter to the current trends. Everything is done digitally today. We get entertained, we get informed, we get educated, we get communicated with digitally in 144 or 140 or 280 word bursts. in TikTok meme. It's so the way we communicate as a society, I would then suggest, is working at odds against the development of connoisseurship. Or am I mistaken?
You are mistaken, because in the very beginning, we said that connoisseurs run contrary to the stream, that these are very, very rare. This is the 0.0001% that's not on TikTok, that's not on Twitter, that doesn't follow the mainstream. They have developed this sixth sense. And Chris, thank you so much for saying that, in the first minutes, because we're going to continue, to leverage that all throughout. I'm changing to that for life.
Good.
And Alf, the thing is all of those things are about meaningless consumption. And our clients they can have anything they want. And it's not about consumption. It's about having experiences that are so elevated and so inspiring and so transcendent. And that's the opposite of all of it, the rest of that stuff.
And if I want to add one point, following on what you just said and following what Jeff said. It's one thing to own an Aston Martin and to understand everything about it. It's one thing to own a $100,000 bottle of wine and understand everything about it. But it's one thing to be a connoisseur of a home. When every day you walk in and have an emotional experience that is unlike any other that you've had in any other home. And many of the people on this panel all have the same goal: to help our clients reach that nirvana, in their home. Or like Jeff said, on the third project, they trust more, they participate more, because they're having experiences that are about shelter and about their emotional home, which is different from the connoisseurship of wine and cars and airplanes and yachts. It's not better, it's different. And that's where we all specialize.
I think it's because you're experiencing the environment of your home. And if it's emotionally satisfying, then you're happy, right? And you're comforted, you're safe, you're at peace, and it excites you and inspires you and does all these wonderful emotional, plays with you.
Jeff, you want to say something?
I was just saying that I guess it's calming or it's exciting. People want different things out of this product. We go through the list. We go through the first initial concept phase. Like, what are you trying to get out of your home? What the answer is lately, particularly since the pandemic? Everything. You would want this Holly Hunt clear, creamy interiors and linen, everything. Or now it's no. Now the dining room's got to be fire because I'm having more dinner parties with just my few friends right now. I'm not going to any restaurants. And then this trend of, how we all talk about having the common thread woven throughout the property and the home. So it's like one seamless home. Okay, it still has that common thread, but I've just seen, and I hope this is a trend that keeps up, there's just so much more variety. And so these homeowners, these residents, these collaborative people in this trade has really made it more exciting for themselves at their homes.
Guys, we're tight on time already. I want to go around. I want to flip around the board quickly. I'm going to start with you, Chris. Give me one brand, and if you have a name, one person who you admire for their connoisseurship. Be brief.
Jared Bauman, it's a terror in San Francisco, is a landscape architect. I heard him speak a couple of years ago at a Private Service Alliance presentation, and he gets it.
Gregg?
That's a good one. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say Jeff Schlarb, because I've seen Jeff take clients of memes and teach them and coach them about lifestyle and develop partnerships like few realtors and their clients have ever done. So I very much admire Jeff and his intrinsic ability, to be a guru.
Stacey?
I was lucky enough to work with Paul Weissman on a large project, a 40,000 square foot house down in Montecito a number of years ago. And his presence and ability to connect with the client and just knowledge. It was amazing and was very, very thought-provoking and comforting.
Sabra?
I don't think it's about brands. I think it's actually about something that is so custom and unique and special that it transcends brands. And unfortunately, our old, kind of like haute couture brands in the home industry have been purchased by larger conglomerates. And those companies have been purchased as like a feather in the cap for the larger companies. And they've been kind of watered down. They have that label left. And so it's really not about the brands anymore. It's about something that is custom and unique and special. It's about, the cashmere rug that comes from the chin hairs of a certain goat on a mountain in the Himalayas.
Although you could say Hermes, for instance, is held out. No? None. Jeff?
There's a furniture brand called Boca de Lobo that make.
I'm sorry, spell that for us, please.
BOCO LOBO.
Okay.
Boca de Lobo. You find them on First Dibs. I think that's where we're finding them. They are sculptures. I mean, they have a utility, but these dining tables they're sculptures. They're insane. And to talk about the connoisseurship, talk about the experts in the craft. These people are that. And then you're talking about product. I think you had a second question. Just people. I would say Alonzo King for 40 years. If you're into Lions Ballet, if you guys have heard of them. I happen to be on the board of Lions, and I know Alonso, but he's been changing. As a choreographer, has been changing how people view and see dance for 40 years. It's incredible.
Okay, let's zero in on the home, folks. In the time within the remaining half hour here, just start to think about your practice now. Are there? I'm considering all five of you connoisseurs. So therefore, what are the guidelines in how you practice your practice to maintain the principles of connoisseurship? Are there given rules? Are there given practices? Are there given isms that drive the way you practice? So at the end of the day, you can say, you know what? I made money, I did this, but I didn't move outside the space of connoisseurship, which is where I want to play. Sabra, let's start with you.
So let's see. I would say, the first thing in the practice is that we only take on projects that are the entire home. And basically we become kind of the owner's, representative, and we take on the entire team. Landscape, architecture, art consultant, lighting designer, every single little, thing that goes into the whole holistic experience.
Let me stop you there. What happens if you can't get control of the whole home? You will walk from the project?
Then we look and see if the other architect or, the other person involved is at our level, and then we'll do it and we collaborate with them.
Okay.
But it has to be this holistic process of doing that. And that way, if it's other people at the top of their industries, we know that they have the same standards and level that we do. And then it really is about listening very carefully to figure out what their deepest desires are and turning that into a design that just kind of, delights and surprises them and wows them and engages them and takes them to a different level.
By the way, to all of you, will you take an assignment knowing that at the end, you feel as though you're going to need a bath, or you're going to have to wash your hands? You took the money, and it was a lot of money, but you knew that you were contravening in the back of your mind what you are as a connoisseur. Sabra, you're a definite no.
Never, absolutely
Yes.
never.
I feel like
Yes.
I'm punished all the time. Greg, I don't know if you've probably seen me being punished. I'm looking at the best of everybody all the time, and it gets me in trouble. I get better at it, but I'm taking baths, sure, a couple times a year.
It's tough.
Long
Jeff.
showers with tears.
So you will take the assignment, Jeff.
Sometimes I guess you'd say mistakenly, I guess my best judgment, but I believe in the best, and I'm looking at the positive side all the time. So I'm still That's my growth period area that I need to still, continue to grow.
I guess I have a little bit to add here. We want to strive to work with connoisseurs, but as we've mentioned, they're rare, and we have a very productive business. We can't only work with connoisseurs, so we work at all levels, of the market. We have 4 listings over $20 million, but we also have 10 listings under $5 million. And so I work with the greatest team, in real estate. I hope a couple of them, are on this call to hear that, to hear me say that. But we get an opportunity to meet a lot of people every week who want to go into business with us. And we've developed a hard, fast rule. If anybody gets a tough feeling, a negative feeling about representing either a buyer, or a seller at the very early day, we can't work with them, because we're in a high volume business. We did over 100 sides of transactions last year. We did all of them artfully and well, achieving high sales in many of them. But when you have nasty clients, they suck the life out of you. And we have had these experiences, like Jeff mentions, where you think you're getting, into an engagement with somebody who's going to be real and appreciative of who you are, and they can turn on you. And so we strive to end those relationships and suggest that clients consider alternate, representation, because we don't want that 1% of our client base demanding 80% of our time. And so, in answer to your question, we will try and avoid that if we can smell it at the beginning. If it happens to us during the engagement, we will do everything to get out of it.
Chris, let me put you on the spot. You're an organization that represents a lot of manufacturers of high-end furniture, accessories, etc., the design industry. When will you not take a member?
One of the hard lessons I've learned is that we don't serve those in the middle market. If you're not in the luxury space, if you're not serving the top 0.5%, you probably don't fit in our group, and our algorithms are not made for you. Have we made mistakes? Oh, yes. And they stick out very quickly and clearly. So, you try very hard to keep people who are consistent. That continuity is important. But sometimes you make a mistake, because let's face it, there's just jerks out there who misrepresent themselves. Of course they do this, but they don't, nor do they understand it. We're also a marketing company, and luxury, of course, and we're in the luxury space, not the design space. So it's counterintuitive, because most in design don't have, most in design practice anonymity because they don't promote. And yet that's the backbone of luxury. So, we want marketers who want to expand their brand presence to ultra high net worth individuals. And so have we made mistakes? Yes, we all have. Try not to, though.
But you will say no.
I have to. Yes, absolutely. I say no every day. I'll give you a great example. If I see House, and this is not a criticism, if I see House on a designer's website, I'm pretty sure she doesn't fit us, because that's inconsistent with a luxury client. It's what Clotaire Rapaille called a civilian stripe that's middle market. It's the same reason Vuitton isn't sold in Kohl's. He could sell product, but it's inconsistent with who you are.
Gotcha. Stacey, I'll come to you in a moment for a wrap up. I just want to go back to Sabra for just a moment. Again, going back to the precepts, I want to understand what you build into your practice as part of your connoisseur culture. Anything additional to add beyond what you gave me before?
Let's see. I think that I think there's also a commitment to go to the ends of the earth to kind of follow the peccadillo of the client, right? So if they want something really specific, we will go and we will find, the expert on that thing. We will go and find that very teeny tiny, little custom thing. So for example, we did a Monopoly board for a client that had a custom color leather binding on it that matched their interior. Printed on the Monopoly board are the addresses of their real estate portfolio, and, surprise and delight and ends of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Sabra, client says to you, I want turquoise, I want olive green shag carpet in the living room. Because that's the way it is. That's what I was raised on. Will you put it in?
No. I'll say okay at the beginning, and then we'll design around it.
Around it.
And we will present something that is more gorgeous and more enthralling to them than what they thought they wanted. That's our job, is to actually not necessarily give them what they want, but to bring them something. That's why they hire us.
To bring them to a
bring
better
them
point.
something beyond what they actually wanted. And I think that the interesting thing about connoisseurship kind of over history is that the clients used to be really educated, and our job was sourcing, right? Bring me Louis XIV chairs, because they knew the difference. They knew that, you know, what that was. And now ours is really just kind of like being the connoisseur, knowing what's out there, listening to them and bringing it to them. And instead of them saying, I have to have this, we're saying to them, you have to have this.
That's well put. Jeff, you were laughing about something?
Oh, I mean, I think something has to, in every room, every home, like something leads to dance, right? Turquoise, shag carpet. This is something I can get behind. If someone has a great idea, and I'm going to test it, I'm going to press it. We're going to go through lots of concepts, big, broad brushstroke concepts to make sure they're serious about that idea. But I can add art in turquoise. I can have like light fixtures and wall treatments and all make this smoking hot. And that was just the one thing that we started with. It's like not going to end there. It's going to have to, the drama of that carpet is going to be met by other dramas. So it's a consistent.
You'll take them further. Stacey, you want to wrap this up? Are there any cultural imperatives for you?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Are there cultural imperatives for you in terms of connoisseurship and how you design and how you treat your clients?
I think I could take a little bit from it, from everybody. Makes sense with me. Sometimes I think I'm walking around with a big S on my front for sucker, because I think everybody's so great and this is going to be so wonderful. And oh my God, they're going to be wonderful. And then sometimes I fire clients because it is not a good fit. But there are clients who may not be at that level yet, but they're interested in educating themselves. And they're interested in learning the difference between, you know, a Louis XVI chair and whatever, right? They like the ideas, like they've come with me with a green shag carpet. It's like, okay, that's interesting. And sort of like what Sabra was saying, we could do a rough, or Jeff as well, you know, we could work around it and see where it could take us. And if it's just a dead end, it's like, you know, this is why this works. This is why this is going to work better. And do you feel the difference? And, you know, it's a journey and it's a process.
Right.
And I think the idea is to have joy during that process. And really, the more somebody knows about something, the more they can appreciate it. And you want them to appreciate their home, right? It's their home. So you can really push the envelope and hopefully create connoisseurs in the making as you're doing your work.
Can I add one more thing to that?
Go ahead, Sabra. Yep.
So I think it's also kind of divining from them, right? If they want the turquoise shag carpet, it's figuring out what is it about that turquoise shag carpet, and maybe giving that you know, experience to them in a different version.
Repackaging it.
Texture.
Exactly. It's always a why. It's always a why. And service, like what you were talking about with the Monopoly board, which I think is outrageous. I love that. But yeah, it's all about service. It's all about connecting with the client and providing. Yeah.
Just on this point, to seal this one, because I want to move on, stay with the home. Either the home itself as an entity, as a structure, or what's inside the home. Are there examples out there today that really depress you, of stuff that you see?
Oh God, yes.
Quickly, Stacey, go.
It's so sad. You know, people, they'll show me Pinterest boards or pictures or catalog pages, and they don't. People aren't as educated, it seems, as they used to be. Or growing up, you know, we were taught art history and we went to museums and we experienced concerts and all of that. A lot of the clients that I have now don't have that background. So they don't have the knowledge and the experiential experience, right, of really feeling the differences between what's good and what's not good.
But I want examples that contravene these basic tenets of connoisseurship that are popular out there today. Chris.
Sure. A certain magazine has chosen to connoisseurship to be trumped by celebrities. And consequently, you don't get the best designers and the best design in it. But it's because we've dumbed down design to the point that it's about masses. And connoisseurship is lost, as well as good taste, which I haven't heard anybody say yet. But as design professionals and connoisseurs, everything we do has to be around good taste.
Where don't you see good taste? Where don't you see good taste?
Most designers, certainly not those who are on the phone today, but I call them pop designers. It's a bubble gum. You know, it's how long since you heard yummy, yummy, yummy? I've got love in my tummy. I mean, it doesn't last. There's no legs. Good design and connoisseurs like the luminaries on this panel are about legs and creating classic design.
Connoisseurship does demand good taste, does it not? I want to make sure about that, does it?
Yes.
For sure.
Okay.
Price doesn't mean quality, and popularity doesn't mean it's cool.
But we can't get mired down in mass culture, because connoisseurship is not about mass culture. And we can agree that the top 1/100% of the population are likely connoisseurs. It's our role to find them and to influence them and to be that part. But there's going to be 99.99% static. And my pet peeve is Bravo shows. So especially about real estate, because that's what's really dumbed down the real estate business. Is any reality show based upon real estate is staged, and it's fabricated, and it's scripted, and it's designed to really dumb down our real estate, and that's what makes my stomach turn.
Well, can I stay with you for a minute? I walked through a number of these high-rise luxury condominium buildings in San Francisco. I don't want to be more specific than that. And an inordinate amount of money has been spent by the developer on these buildings. And yet the design inside is so damn boring and banal.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? It's the antithesis of connoisseurship, incidentally.
It is, but you're going to like this answer, because focus groups, done by developers, are going to bring the lowest common denominator that they can sell. However, the top floor of that building is a shell. It's not made by the developer. It's a shell, because the connoisseur who will pay double the price per square foot to live on the top floor doesn't want those finishes that 900 other units will have. They want to fly to Italy with their designer, and they want to walk through Carrara, Italy, and they want to decide exactly which variety of Calcutta Michelangelo marble is going to look right against the bay views. And the custom approach also exists in high rises, but that's not for everybody. So that's the difference between the connoisseur and everybody else.
Sabra, we're going casual. It's interesting today, we were joking with Chris before, all of us, with the exception of Chris, are dressed West Coast casual. I haven't worn a jacket and I can't tell you how long. So casual living is no longer a maybe trend, it's a reality. Do you feel that in your design business, does casual living work away and work counter to connoisseurship?
No, I don't think so at all. I think
Explain.
Casual can still be luxurious, right? So casual can still be rustic. Casual can be, taking a barn apart in France or a chateau and bringing those materials and using them in a casual home in Sonoma. And clients in their second homes, they want to feel casual. They want to feel relaxed. They don't want to feel, upright and uptight. They want to feel comfortable, and you can still be very luxurious and custom and be casual.
The rest of you agree with that? Any counter to that, Stacey?
I think as long as the design is excellent, that it's nuanced and it's layered, there's a reason why things are where they are, you know, the shapes and the textures and the colors and how the light works and all of that. It doesn't matter what the concept is, it's still good design. And I think creating homes that you can actually live in, you know, my grandmother had plastic on her sofa, I swear to God. And, you know, that's just crazy. I can't imagine, you know, creating an environment where you want to feel your best self and you can't touch something.
Uncomfortable. Right? Jeff, you've got your finger on the pulse of an emerging clientele in terms of the demographic. How do you get millennials and Gen Zs and Gen Ys to get to this point of appreciating connoisseurship? Because, by the way, they want it at 3 o'clock in the morning. They want it now. They don't have time, and they're doing it on a mobile phone.
Yes, I mean, this is going to be a struggle. I'd say if you're 32, 35, and it's your first home, it's going to be a tough client to kind of move into the sort of process that we go through, which for them will be painstakingly slow. For us, I think we're pretty swift and we have order in our process. I think, you know, our first meeting is we're kind of explaining the process, sharing them with why it takes the time. And that's how we'll get them there. If they can listen and they can appreciate that. I think those days of the millennials and those of everyone just like demanding just now, now, I think that may be fading. Really, it is. So perhaps even because of this overused word supply chain, Alf. I mean, everybody knows about supply chain. And everybody knows that there's delays. We used to have clients, if we had 1 week delay, they'd be furious. But now it's so out of our control. And so is everything else in their life 1 week or 2 months delayed. So it's not a new thing. You know, we're just, I guess, educating them to walk through the process and get the real end result, which will uplift them, be reflective of them, and they'll be the happiest when they come home.
I want to come back to this, to the group and to you, Greg, in particular on this issue. I deal with millennials and I deal with people younger than me. They don't appreciate customer service anymore. They don't read. They are watching Bravo, Greg. That's where they're getting their media influences and their taste influences from. So therefore, given all of the very, very beautiful words and language and rhetoric that you guys gave me at the start of the program, how do we bring these precepts of connoisseurship to an audience that I'm not too sure wants it? Chris?
We can't. We can't. We just can't. And as we said early on, sorry, Chris, I'll jump to you in a second, but we can't. The very first thing that we said is that connoisseurship is a passion. It can be taught, but there has to be an intrinsic desire to learn and to be passionate, and that cannot be force-fed. We don't try.
And that's why there's so few of them.
I believe you, by enchanting them and by exposing them, and I say them, those with financial capacity will desire the best, and they will desire to be like others of their ilk. And as they get to that point, they will become connoisseurs of what interests them.
How do you enchant them? How do you enchant them?
You enchant them by fascinating and showing, dissecting the nuances in their home that they won't come back from. Whether it's lighting the ceiling they didn't expect, whether it's a Sub-Zero or Miele fridge, so they don't buy X brand. It's exposing them to the best of the best, and if they can afford it, they will walk in. If they can't,
and they will respond.
I hope so, because our careers are based on it.
Sabra, you going to?
Well, I'll speak on the customer service thing, Alf. I mean, I think the first thing is that, you know, in marketing to these clients, they are very time pressed. And so what we need to do is basically, you know, honor their time. And the way that we do that is become kind of experts in the amount of information that we're giving them to make a decision, and which decisions we're going to make for them and which decisions they want to be kind of involved in. And if, you know, it used to be that we would spend 3 hours doing an interior design presentation and meeting and really going through everything with the client. And when they say, you know, I've got 50 minutes, I will take 10 minutes to zoom into a little atelier in a little, village in France to meet a glass blower so that our client can connect with them. They can talk to them. They can learn about a trade that's been passed down through apprenticeship and generation. And when that light fixture arrives and it's gorgeous and radiant and they're appreciating it, the proof is in the pudding, and they understand it. And once they get a taste of it, they don't want anything else.
It has meaning. You gave it meaning.
It has meaning and connection.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, folks, we're at the wrap up here. We've got about 7 minutes. I'm just going to ask 2 questions, and then we'll let you get back to your connoisseurship duties today. Think about this as a teacher and an influential to the audience that's watching this today and will be watching the recording. What's the piece of advice that you want them to take away from today in terms of understanding this small segment and working with them and dealing with them and becoming partners with them and hopefully having them as clients? Let's start with you, Stacey.
I think education is key and exposure is key so that they can learn what's of value and brings them the specialness of a thing to them, how they're connected to that.
So more exposure to the right things.
Yep. Yeah.
Jeff,
If I may,
go ahead, Greg. Go ahead. Jump in.
if I may add, you can't be a generalist. You have to pick your thing, right? You need to become an expert, and you need to be able to go deep and prove it on something. So
Yeah.
you decide what things it is, and then go deep. And a good place to experiment and show the depth is on social media. It's on Instagram, because people watch, and when people want to learn more, they follow experts on social media. So if you can become, an expert on something, and in your passion, needs to lead because you have a lot of learning to do, but ways that you demonstrate your expertise to the market, to prospects and client, is on social media.
Jeff, same question.
Well, as interior designers, I think surrounding yourself with these other sort of elite craftspeople, and they're themselves connoisseurs of their craft, woodworkers, carpenters, contractors who do impeccable work. And so your whole team is I'm not trying to conflate connoisseurship with what, just being really, really great at your job is, but just kind of be in the space that helps us all get the highest results, and then exposure to the client. It's sort of one big team, one big system, and that's how I like to look at it.
Chris?
I'd follow the pillars of luxury because they reflect well on you. That's loyalty, heritage, provenance, authenticity. To Stacey's comment, being discreet, scarcity, being a good digital marketer. I'm not a big fan of social media, although I understand where Greg is because he's got a lot of followers. Most of us have difficulty with that. And sometimes it's your absence that is so powerful, for the same reason most luxury brands aren't on social media. Other thing is align yourself with the right brands like Institute of Classical Architecture and Art, Private Service Alliance, my organizations, all these things define who you are. And as you explain that and expose it to your clients, they will create an understanding of who you are. For the same reason, by the way, if you play a Steinway piano versus a Yamaha, to someone who knows there's a difference and you've just told them that you get it. And understanding and getting it is very important.
Sabra, you have the final word on this question.
Ooh, I would say, for the audience, basically figure out something that gets your juices flowing, and, like what Greg said, become an expert in that. And that is the part that is going to differentiate you from your competition. It's the opposite of mediocrity. Figure out what gets you excited and go really far with that, and find experts in it. And, there's all kinds of opportunities in the Bay Area, in San Francisco, where connoisseurs, come to the city. So if you are an agent and you want to become an expert, in art or something, go to the Fog Art and Design Fair. There are gallerists who come from all over the world, and they're just standing in their booths waiting for somebody to come up and talk to them. And, there's all kinds of examples of that in the Bay Area.
And that really that's the segue to my final question, Sabra, and I want to stay with that. If I wanted to be a connoisseur, if I wanted to develop my connoisseurship around that particular subject, whether it's business or personal, where do I pick up those influences? I had obviously media, brands or individuals that I would want to follow, travel experience. I'm surprised so many interior designers tell me that travel has been so pivotal to their appreciation of design and art, etc.
And
organizations to join, experiences to go ahead.
Right. I think it's the primary experiences and the exposure. And that's why travel is important, is because you get out there and you're actually having those primary experiences, right? You're in the cave, smelling the smell of the cave, feeling the acoustics of the cave, the temperature of the cave, drinking the wine, with the winemaker, kind of thing. But if you can't travel to go and have those primary experiences, then, what Gregg said, you go on social media and anything that's behind the scenes, anything that's BTS, you just, you go deep. If you see something that's coming up, that's a garden tour, that is, anything that's private tour, backstage tour, where you're really kind of like getting into something that's unique and special, brought to you by an expert. There's all kinds of travel experiences that are done by universities where you travel with that professor to that place, and they're, giving you their knowledge, and you're going deep.
I want to pull closure here by just giving you a quick anecdote. I'm dealing with the US representative of one of the 3 top single malt whiskey brands in the world, unquestioned. And I asked the question about connoisseurship, and he said, and this guy knows everything about his brand. He's had the brand for decades. And he said, there are people out there, connoisseurs, who know more about the brand than I do. He said, it's a small number of them. He said, age is not an issue. They're young and old. Mm-hmm. He said, they do have a lot of money. He said, and they're absolutely passionate about the brand. He said, they know more. And these are people who are buying $3,000 bottles of single malt. He said, they know where a bottle of Louis the 14th or Alexander III is available on which shelf in Hong Kong. He said, I don't even know that. So it certainly got back to me that Gregg is right. It's that absolute passion and obsession about the product and about the interest. This has been great, folks. I continue to learn by listening to all of you. I want to thank the panelists, Stacey, Gregg, Jeff, Chris, and Sabra. Thank you for a great conversation today. To our audience, look out for the link that comes out today from via Eventbrite. And I'm going to put the names of our panelists in that email today, together with their websites. So if you want to contact them individually, you can find them on their websites. And I would remind you that we have 3 more programs in this connoisseurship series. And we're taking a break for the summer. Next one will be on September the 9th, where we're going to be dealing with art. And we have a wonderful gentleman from Los Angeles who will be joining us on art and art collections. We will then segue in October to food and wine, and then we will end in November with travel, high-end travel. So panelists, it's been a pleasure and a delight to have you with us. And to all of us in the audience, we hope you learned something today, just as I did. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. Thank you, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.